Hey there, here's Jan from Jovo, and today I'm going to show you how to make your voice app work in different staging environments. So usually we see a lot of people that have different stages, like local for local development with a Jovo webhook, and then dev for testing with their team on AWS Lambda, for example, and then QA for some additional testing with clients, for example, with additional team members, user acceptance testing, and so on. And previously it was quite tedious to set up different staging environments, but with Jovo version 1.2 we introduced a new staging feature that makes that a little easier. And you can basically do that by adding different stages to your app.json file. And so let's go to the docs and take a look there. So at advanced features, you can find some additional information about staging. What you can also do is you can take a look at app.json here and see all the things that can go into your app.json for some additional project configuration. So here you can see under deployment and then stages, you can see everything about staging as well. So let's get started. We will just create a very simple Jovo project and deploy it to two different Amazon developer accounts with two different skill IDs just to show you how it works with different staging environments. So let's do that. So let's go into your terminal and create a new Jovo project with a Jovo CLI. So we can give it any name. We will call it stage test. And so this will automatically create a new Jovo project from the default template hello world and add it to a new directory, stage test. So let's go into the folder stage test and open it up in the code. So I'm using Visual Studio Code here. Okay, so as you can see, this is the typical Jovo folder structure. We have an app folder with the logic, we have a models folder with the language model, and that's mostly it. So right now we don't have an app.json file, and we can create that by initializing a project. So we can do Jovo init Alexa skill, for example. We could also do Jovo init Google action. Let's go with an Alexa skill first. So this created an app.json. Let's go back and we can see it here. And as you can see here, we have an Alexa skill object there with a natural language understanding tool. Currently only Alexa, the built-in Alexa, is supported, and we have an endpoint. And notice how it automatically grabs my personal Jovo webhook URL, which makes it easy for local development. And so if I now do Jovo build, it uses this information to create a specific folder called platforms and then Alexa skill, as you can see here, and adds all the necessary information. So in the skill.json, you can see my webhook URL is added there. We have nothing in the config yet, so it doesn't have a skill ID yet. And so now if I now do Jovo deploy, this will use this information and deploy it into my default Amazon developer account using Ask CLI. So let me just open a new tab and show you how you can set that up. So if you don't have Ask CLI yet, I will post a link to the video how to install it, and with Ask Init you can set up different accounts. And as you can already see, I have a default profile here. That's my personal profile. We have a general Jovo profile, Jovo Dev, and Jovo QA, just for different stages. So let's close it up again. Let's close it up. So okay, so it is deployed to my default profile, and it's just finished building the interaction model, so this works now. So let's go to the browser. I'm already logged in and refresh, and as you can see here, stage test is already deployed. So okay, so this is now my personal account, and it uses the Jovo webhook URL for local development. But now what if I want to deploy it to our Jovo dev account for a different stage? So let's do this. Let's add this information to the app.json. So let's go back there as you already saw in the app.json project configuration docs, we can add different stages like this in the app.json. So for example, we can add a stages block and add 2 stages for now. So we have a local stage for local development with a Jovo webhook URL in my default Ask CLI profile, and then we can add a dev stage for which will be later hosted on Lambda, for example, in our Jovo dev developer account. And so for now, we will use the Jovo webhook URL for both stages, but later when we have uploaded it to Lambda, we can then switch it. And so I could now use this endpoint here and copy it into both stages. So the thing is, when we have different developers, they all have different personal webhook URLs, and which makes it a little tedious for every developer to change. And so what we can do is we can reference it by using this here, Jovo webhook URL. So this will automatically fetch the webhook URL from your config from the Jovo CLI and then add it to your skill.json, for example. And for now, we will use the same endpoint for dev. Actually, no need to specify it in both. We can add it outside here because it's added for both. But for now, we will just use it here to show that later we need to change that to a lambda ARN. So we can get rid of this here. Okay, cool. And so we're using Ask profile, the default Ask profile for local development, and let's use the Jovo dev for the dev development. And we can do this by overriding certain information in each stage. So for example, we can add an Alexa skill block here in the dev stage, and then add a new Ask profile here. By default, it uses the default profile, but for here we can do Jovo dev, for example, and reference the other default profile to fetch. The thing is that right now for deployment, by default, the Jovo CLI or the Ask CLI then goes into the config file here in the platforms folder and fetches this skill ID here. So we can copy that and add this to our local development here. Skill ID, and we don't need to add the default profile. And for our new skill ID, we need to create a new skill. So a skill ID is empty. To make sure the config file is actually overwritten, we can just add an empty string here. So let's try it out. So there's one more thing. So to let the system know in which stage it is currently in, there's 2 things you can do. You can add a .env file and create a stage variable there and tell it if it's currently in local or in dev. Or you can add a default stage element here in the app.json. And so we will do that. So by default, we'll use local. So if we now do Jovo build, this will still have the current skill ID. This will still have the Jovo webhook URL and everything else. But now if we do Jovo build stage dev, this will override the information here. So it will have an empty skill ID like as before when we just started the project. And so if we now deploy it, Jovo deploy stage dev, this will use this information and create a new Alexa skill for the Ask profile, Jovo dev. And so let me just log in to see if this worked. So let's go back to the console, log out. As you can see here in my Alexa developer console for the account Jovo, I have 3 different users. I have a Jovo user, Jovo Dev, and Jovo QA. And so if I go to Jovo Dev here, you can see that stage test was created here. And so this way you can have you can deploy your Alexa skill to different developer accounts. And so we can also copy the skill ID just to make sure that it's that everything is in the right place. And so that's it. So this is how you can deploy your Alexa skill to different environments. And then in the next few videos, I will show you to add additional information to your app.json to also deploy your Dialogflow agent into different accounts. For example, how to override config information, like when you want to host it on Lambda, you might want to use DynamoDB. While developing locally, you might want to use the Jovo default file persistence layer. And so there's a lot of stuff you can do, and we will show you how to do this step by step. So thanks a lot for watching. So if you like what we do, let us know if there's any feedback. For example, you can join our Slack community here, and we always appreciate any support, any feature requests, and give us a star on GitHub. Thanks a lot. See you soon.